Hello everyone, I'm Don Pratt, host of Policing York Region. We're down at the Richmond Hill Studio for the Performing Arts, and we're in with the Crime Stoppers Student Symposium. They've gathered students from all over York Region. We've got about 400 in the audience today, and we're just about to go and watch Jeremy Diaz. He's got a very powerful story, so let's grab a seat and we'll watch Jeremy.
Hi everybody. My name is Jeremy. And I'm not from Richmond Hill, obviously, otherwise we'd be friends. I'm actually from Alberta, and I'm not from like Calgary or Red Deer or Edmonton. I'm actually from like the north, the winter, the cold, the dark, and my house. And when I was in grade 9, I was sleeping in my bedroom one morning, and my mom came into my room while I was sleeping, and she tapped me on the shoulder, and she was like, Jeremy, Jeremy, Jeremy. Jeremy, wake up, Jeremy. And I was like, what is it? What's going on? And she's like, Jeremy, we're moving to Northern Ontario. And I was like, what? And she's like, pay attention, stupid, we're moving. And when I was your age, I looked at my mom and I'm like, Mom, no, I get that we're moving. I'm like, why? And my mother looks at me and she's like, Jeremy, shut up. And so we moved to Northern Ontario, to a town called Sault Ste. Marie. I packed up everything I owned. I said goodbye to all my friends, and we hopped into the back of my car. I was sitting next to my dog for like 3 days on this drive down. And when we got to Sault Ste. Marie, that summer, I didn't have any friends. I didn't know who to talk to, and I couldn't go to my neighbor's house and be like, would you be my friend, you know? So I decided to spend a lot of time with myself. I talked to my friends back home online, and then of course I'd go into the forest and I'd play Pokemon. Now, Pokemon, for those of you who don't know, was not in an app back then. It was me, and I was poor, so I didn't even have like a DS or a Wii or anything. I just had like a baseball, and I had a forest behind my house, and inside the forest there was squirrels. I love how you see where this is going. But I have terrible aim, so I'd be like, catch. The ball would hit the tree, and then the ball would come back in my face with a vengeance. I started school in grade 10. I was super excited about starting high school. I really wanted to make new friends, and I really wanted to meet new people. On my very first day of high school, I showed up really early. I had a brand new backpack. I was putting my stuff into my locker, and this guy came over down the hall and tapped me on the shoulder. And I turned around and I was like, good morning. And he looked down the hallway and he's like, hey everybody, there's like a brown kid in the school. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not alone. Who is it? Where are they? And I realized all of a sudden people started crowding around us. And the guy's like, there's gonna be a fight. And I'm like, uh-oh, spaghetti-o. So I ditched my stuff. I love that you get the like 90s references. Okay. So I ditched my stuff, I ran to my principal's office, I told my principal what happened, and my principal got up from his desk, and he's like, what's the problem? And I'm like, this guy's gonna beat me up. And my principal was like, oh, boys will be boys, just suck it up. And then I got into the hallway and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die today. Spoiler warning, I didn't die, I'm here today. But the next day, when I came to school, like I tried to talk to people and nobody wanted to be my friend and nobody wanted to hang out with me. So I spent a lot of time by myself. And 2 weeks after school started, I found myself reading and eating every single day under a tree, just outside in the school like yard area. And one day I was reading and I was eating and it started raining, so I grabbed my books and I grabbed my lunch and I went into my English classroom to sit alone and read and eat by myself. And I was sitting there reading and eating by myself, and I finished a chapter of my book, put my book into my desk, and my desk was soaking wet. So I pulled my hand out instantly, and all of a sudden this guy who was hiding behind my teacher's desk, he jumped up and he threw a lit match into my desk, and the desk exploded in my face. And I got up and jumped back, and he ran out of the classroom. And just as he walked through the door, the teacher just walked in and she saw my desk and she grabbed the fire blanket off the wall and she put out my desk, and I just stood there. I was in shock. She grabbed my desk, she replaced it with one from the back, she opened the windows and the smoke billowed out of the classroom, and I just stood there. She grabbed another desk from the back, she replaced mine, and she told me to sit down. And I asked her if she was going to go after the kid, and she's like, these things happen. And I sat down, and she started the PowerPoint, and people came into the classroom, and this one kid was like, do you smell that? And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to ask me what happened. And the kid turns around and is like, no, the teacher's smoking by the window again. And that was it. And I went home, and my mom's like, how was your day? And I was like, it was terrible. And she said, why? So I told her, and she called the principal, and the principal was like, don't worry, we already got him a new desk. And he hung up on my mom. And so the next day, so it's so funny, I can say this. My mom made paradas. Yeah, my brown crew gets it, which is kind of like flatbread. I don't know, it's not worth getting into, but it's really good. Anyway, so my mom made paradas, I'm putting jam on it, and my mom's like, is something wrong? And I'm like, I just don't want to go to school. And she's like, well, do you want to skip school today? And I'm like, hell yeah. So we skipped school, we drove into town, we went to the mall, which means we went to Zeller's. I know, I'm like that old, right? So we went to Zeller's. It was kind of exciting. I'm from a small town. Like, you guys are really lucky. You guys have like a lot of malls and stuff. We have one mall, and there's Zeller's on one end, and that's it. And so we went into Zeller's, we went up and down the escalator. My mom got me new shoes. I was super excited. And then after we got shoes, we went over to the ice cream store to get ice cream. And we're standing in line, just waiting for our turn. And this kid, like 4 years old, runs up to me and starts pulling on my pants, and he's screaming at the top of his lungs. He's like, Mommy! And I look down at this kid, and I'm like, I'm not your mother, kid. Get off of me. Freaking me out. And his mother comes over, and she picks up her son, and the kid looks at me, and the kid looks at his mom, and the kid looks at me, and the kid's like, Mom, what's that? And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm Russell Peters. I'm famous. But the mom and the kid, they just didn't get the joke. They just walked away. And at the door of the ice cream store, the mother looked back. And she said to her son, loud enough for everyone in the store to hear, she said, don't talk to them. They're bad people. Leave them alone. And everyone in the store heard, and everyone stared at us. And we got chocolate mint ice cream. And we sat down in the store, and we ate, and we didn't talk about it. And we came home from the mall, and my dad was like, how was your day at the mall? And we didn't talk about it. And the next day I went to school, and all I can think about is my desk and this kid. And I thought, maybe people at my school had never met someone like me before. Maybe if they got to know me, maybe I would have friends, right? So I decided to volunteer for student council, which was awesome because they let me, and I got to decorate the gym for the dance. Now, my gym was about the size of this room, although it was a gym and not a giant auditorium. But it was really big, and I had a really good idea. Do you want to hear it? Yeah. It doesn't matter. I have the mic. Just being courteous. But yeah, so I had this really cool idea, and you can totally take it back to your school. The idea was, I decided to collect all of the fall leaves from all of the parks all over the township. And we filled up our entire gymnasium with leaves from all over. So when you walked in through the double doors, there was like 3 or 4 foot of leaves everywhere. It was epic. I'm imagining there's like a shining light on me. If you do the same, it's more entertaining. It was epic. Anyway, so I had this really cool idea, and everyone loved the dance, and it was super popular, and like people had so much fun. And after the dance was over, me and the rest of student council were cleaning up the leaves in the gymnasium. And people were talking about it. Like, people were talking. And I was cleaning up the leaves with a rake in the corner by the wall, and that's when it happened. She came over to me to talk to me. Now, you have to know 2 things. First off, no one has ever come over to me to talk to me. I have 0 friends. So the fact that someone is coming over to talk to me is a really big deal. This is potentially my very first friend. 2, this is not just anyone. This is Sara Monroe. And you all know Sara Monroe. She was the prettiest, she's the tallest, she's the most popular girl in school, and she is the president of student council, and she's coming over to me to talk to me. Hashtag. So, yes, hashtag gasped, but it's not as dramatic as actually gasping. Okay, so I'm standing there with the rake, raking, trying to look cool. And she comes over to me and talks to me. And she flips her hair back and forth like Willow Smith, and I'm thinking, oh my God, she's an angel. And she says, congratulations on the dance. And I hold the rake, and I'm like, anything for you. If you need anything, just let me know. I'm super happy to help. There's no I in team, and I give 110%. And she looks at me, and she shakes my hand. And I'm shaking her hand, and she's shaking my hand, and it is the best moment of my entire life. Then she looks back at her friends, and she looks at me, and she says, I didn't think your people could do anything else besides make rice and curry. And they start laughing, and she starts laughing, and I let go of the rake, and it falls to the floor, and I walk away. And I'm walking away, and Sarah's like, where are you going? And I'm like, I'm going home. And she's like, why? And I'm like, look, when I come to school, people make jokes. When I go to class, people make jokes. I go to lunch, people make jokes. When I go back to class, people make jokes. And then I go to the dance, and you make a joke, and honestly, it hurts my feelings on the inside. So I'm going to go home. And she said, look, I'm sorry. And I'm like, look, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it. And then she grabs me by the shoulder, and she pulls me in, and she says, actually, it is a big deal. I'm super sorry. I had no idea what I said hurt your feelings, and I promise I'll never do it again. She gave me a big hug, and in that moment, she became my very first friend. And after I made friends with her, I made 5 more friends. So if you're counting, I'm at 6. 6 friends. Okay. That's a count reference. Okay. Who knew that math would be included in today? As a math teacher who's really excited right now. Okay. So here's the thing. When I made friends with Sara and I made 5 more friends, me and my friends decided to switch all of our classes around for second semester, and we decided to take drama together. And I loved drama because in English, French, and science, people called me names and they made fun of me. In English, French, and science, nobody wanted to talk to me, and nobody wanted to look at me or be in my group. But in drama, when I sat down, people sat beside me. In drama, I had friends. In drama, having friends meant there was this force field around you that prevented people from saying mean things to you. And I liked it. So I'm sitting down in drama one day, and our teacher's on the stage, and he's like, blah, blah, Hamlet, blah, blah, something, blah, blah. If you want to go work outside, you all can. And all of a sudden, everyone leaves the auditorium. And it's just me and my 6 friends, the 7 of us. We're on the stage, we're practicing Hamlet, we're all alone because everyone else is outside, and Chris is in the lighting booth flipping the lights on and off and on and off, and Emily's like, to be or not to be. And I look at my 6 friends, the only 6 friends I have in the whole world, and I'm like, I'm gay. And then Rachel gets up and she walks away. And Emily's like, where did Rachel go? And I'm like, I don't know. See, I met Rachel 2 weeks after the dance had finished. I was walking my dog, and she was gardening, and my dog started sniffing her inappropriately, and I was like, bad dog. And she's like, it's okay, I love animals. And then she made out with my dog. So gross, right? Because girls have cooties, and now my dog has cooties. I'm just kidding, I'm kidding, girls don't have cooties. Okay. But here's the thing, right? She used to live super close to my house. So Rachel would just come over to my house, and we'd hang out, and it was awesome, right? And then we'd walk to school together almost every morning, and it was fun to have a friend to walk to school with you with. Anyway, 4 weeks after we met, my mom had made a giant breakfast, eggs, toast, waffle, everything you can imagine, and my parents left for work. I was cleaning up, and then Rachel showed up, and I was at the sink. I had a bowl of cereal that my mom had poured for me, but I didn't eat it because I had pancakes, obviously. And I was pouring it down the carburetor, and Rachel looks at me, and she's looking at me throw away the food, and she starts crying. And I'm like, dude, it is 7:30 in the morning, why are you crying? And she said, parents lost their jobs. I haven't eaten for 3 days, and you're throwing away food. Now, I felt bad that I was throwing away food, but I felt worse that we'd been sitting together for lunch for the last 3 days, and I didn't notice that she was not eating. I put down the bowl, grabbed some leftover pancakes, gave them to her, and said, what's going on? And she's like, my parents lost their jobs. We don't have any money. We can either pay for rent or for food, so we're paying for rent. And over the next few weeks, I would sneak food into her locker every day. She would say thank you. And one day she wrote me a note, and she's like, you're awesome. And I was like, of course I am. But then I realized You know what was even more awesome than me sneaking food into her locker was how awesome she was for sharing that with me. Because the truth is, every single person has a story. Every single person has something deep inside of themselves that they're embarrassed about or hiding from someone else. And Rachel and her experience taught me one thing, that you can't really judge people. You can think you know someone based on how they act or who they hang out with, but the truth is, you can't. And I think in learning Rachel's story, I became a better person. So, I'm standing on the stage. I just told my 6 friends, the only 6 friends I have in the whole world, that I'm gay, and my very best friend in the world just walked out. Emily's like, where did Rachel go? And I'm like, I don't know. And then over the intercom, Rachel tells everyone in the entire school that I'm gay. And I go home for lunch. And when I get back to school the next day, everyone's talking about it. Everyone's whispering about it. I get to math class, my teacher writes a question on the board. I'm the only person in class to raise a hand, but he ignores it. And when my arm gets sore, I put it down. In French class, someone calls me a fag and everybody laughs, even my teacher. And when her and I make eye contact, she tells people to be quiet, and that was it. At lunch, I go to eat with my friends in the cafeteria, and I'm sitting at the table that we always eat at, and I'm waiting for them to show up, and they just never show up. And then every single table fills with people, and I'm sitting alone. And then the entire football team exits the cafeteria line, and they look for a place to sit, and there is my table. And they crowd around my table, they fill up all the empty spots, and the captain of the football team, who's eating 3 hamburgers that he's squished into one, the grease is all over his face. Don't judge him, you know people like this. I saw you at lunch, some of you are people like this. And he, with grease all over his face, says, hey, aren't you gay? I, of course, do the obvious thing, which is reach into my pocket, grab the glitter, and go like this. Absolutely. No, I didn't do that. But I live every day wishing I had. No, so this is what happened. He's like, hey, aren't you gay? The table goes completely quiet. And everyone stares. And I say, yeah. Steve puts down his sandwich, wipes the grease from his mouth, and he's like, look, I got nothing against you people as long as you don't hit on me. And I'm like, Steve, I would never hit on you. You are not pretty enough, okay? Steve looks at me and he's like, what do you mean I'm not pretty? I can be pretty. And I'm like, Steve, it's not that you're not pretty, it's that you're not gay. I'm gay, like other gay people. And Steve looks at me and he's like, how'd you become gay? Which is a great question, right? Because when I was in grade 5, I lived over here beside North and Dark. And I went to a Catholic school called Our Lady of Perpetual Help. And one day in the library, in grade 5, I was putting books onto the shelf. It was library period, which means that we could go anywhere in the school and read any book we want as long as we were quiet. And me and my best friend were doing the rebellious thing, which was reading in the library. And we were putting books back onto the shelf, and he walked over to me and he kissed me on the cheek. And it was super romantic because the choir in the room next door started singing, and we thought it was a sign from God. So we started dating, we started holding hands, and we started hanging out a lot. And one day we were holding hands in the library, and this dude came up to us and he's like, you guys are gay. And Daniel, my boyfriend, my best friend in the whole world, was like, dude, we are not gay. Being gay is happy. We are not happy. We missed recess because it's raining outside. We are super miserable today. The dude walked away from us, but Dan looked at me and he's like, are we gay? And I looked at him and all I knew was that I was in love. So that night we went home and we Wikipedia'd the gay, and I came to school. I had all these articles. I'm like, do you know we're gay? And there's like pride and, stuff. And, we lived in the middle of nowhere in northern Alberta. We'd never heard of the gay. There was no gay pride. The only thing we knew about the gay was that it was somewhere in Quebec. You know what I mean? Like, that's all we knew. But I came to school with so many articles and so much paper, and Dan looked at me And he looked at me in the hallway and he's like, I don't want to be gay. And he broke my little heart. And he never spoke to me again. And he walked away. I learned very quickly that if I told someone I was gay, they would stop being my friend. So I decided not to tell anyone else. And I kept it a secret. And it was a secret till I told all of you. Steve got up from the cafeteria table with his friends, and they all walked away. And I ate lunch by myself. And after Rachel told everyone in the school I was gay, people were mean to me, and they called me names, and they pushed me around, and I hated going to school. However, in grade 11, something really awesome happened. I got a boyfriend. His name was Jesse. He didn't go to my school. He went to the indigenous school on the other side of town. He wasn't actually First Nations, though. He was Métis, and I'm only Pakistani, so together we're one whole Indian. He would come over to my house. We'd write jokes together. We thought we were like so funny. And one day we're writing jokes and we're watching cartoons and we're holding hands, and my mom comes in with a tray of cookies and she's like, do you boys want some? Oh my God. And she dropped the tray of cookies and she screamed at the top of her lungs. And then she called me into the kitchen, and like I walked into the kitchen and I'm standing between my mother and the knives because I don't want her to grab one and stab me because I'm a Boy Scout and we're always prepared. So my mom, she's a short little Indian woman, and she looks up at me. She's really pretty, she's really skinny, but she's short, and she looks at me and she's like, are you the gay? And I thought, wouldn't it be awesome if I like was the gay, like the only one in the world? Like I show up in Richmond Hill and I'm like, the gay is here. Everyone shows up in pink or something, I don't know. So I look at my mom, I'm like, Mom, I'm not the gay, but I'm gay. And she looks at me and she's like, how's it going? And I'm like, it's okay. Thanks for asking. And my mom went for a really long walk, and I met up with Jesse in the living room, and he's like, I'm gonna go home. And he went home. And I went upstairs to my room, and I was talking to my friends online, and one of my friends in Mississauga told me that his friend told his mom he was gay, and she kicked him out of the house. So I was scared that the same thing would happen to me. So I decided to put all my favorite clothes into a bag and hide it under my bed, just in case. At 2 o'clock in the morning, my mom finally comes home. She walks up the stairs, she walks down the hallway, she opens the door, and she comes into my room, and she's like, Jeremy, are you awake? And I was, obviously. And I said, yeah. And she says, I have a good idea. I'm going to make a pink t-shirt that says, I'm the proud gay mom of a proud gay son. And I'm like, aw, but you're not a proud gay mom. Mom, you're not gay. Mom, are you a lesbian? And she's like, no, I learned. You teach me the ways of your people. And I'm like, Mom, it doesn't work like that. And she's like, I know, don't be stupid. I know about the gay and the lesbian. Actually, you know what she said? She's like, I know about the gay and the lesbian. I watched the Glee. Oh, it's so funny. So then, my mom and I talked for a bit, and before she goes to bed, she says, I love you, and that meant a lot to me. And then the next morning, we got up super early, we made breakfast for my family, and my brother came down the stairs skipping, and my brother's like, do you want some more homo milk, big homo? 1 glass a day will keep you super gay. My mom was chopping onions at the time. She was like, are you an idiot? He's already gay. He can't be more gay. You're so stupid. My dad is from Nova Scotia, so he's like bigger than me and taller than me, and he plays football. And my dad was like, look, son, your mom told me you're gay. And I want you to know I'll always love you on one condition. Don't get anyone pregnant. And I'm like, but Dad, I won't, I'm gay. And he's like, I know, it's a joke, I'm funny. All right, okay, I'll take it. So we all had breakfast. We talked about everyone we knew who were gay, which was fun. And then after that, my brother and my dad went to play soccer. My mom and I stayed home. And after we cleaned up, my mom called up all my relatives to tell them I was gay, which was hilarious. However, my Aunt Sheila, who lives in Winnipeg, picked up the phone and she said, okay. And my mom's like, is everything all right? And Aunt Sheila was like, no. And my Aunt Sheila doesn't talk to my mom or my dad or my brother anymore, even though they're still straight. And it bothers me because, like, I know I didn't make my Aunt Sheila stop talking to my family, but it hurts on the inside that she doesn't. And it's not that my Aunt Sheila's mean. She's polite. I see her at weddings and stuff, and she'll be like, hi, and I'll be like, hi. And I miss hanging out with her and stuff. But I respect her. And I respect her because she's always been respectful to me. She's never said anything mean. She's never done anything offensive. She's just taken some space. And I wish people in my school were like that a little bit more, but people didn't really give me much space, nor did they take any for their own. In fact, actually, when I was in grade 12, people were picking on me almost every day. And the interesting thing about it is that I would go to school and someone would just say something, and it would be one moment for them. One day in particular, it was raining outside, and I remember walking to school and my umbrella broke, and I got soaking wet. And when I got to school, my vice principal told me that someone had graffitied my locker and that I had to clean it off because the custodian did not want to touch my locker. She did not want to catch the gay, so I cleaned it off myself. After I was done cleaning the graffiti off my locker, I got into my English class late, and someone had taken my homework off the teacher's desk and ripped it into small pieces of paper. So when I came in, they threw it in my face like snow, and everyone laughed. I picked up the pieces of the paper, put them into my pocket, and at lunch I went to the library to print off a new copy. I handed it to my teacher at lunch and explained to her what happened, and she said, homework's due at the beginning of class, not at the end. This is a life lesson. You'll be better prepared next time. And she smiled as she walked down the hallway, throwing my newly printed copy of paper into the garbage. I walked up the stairs to science class. I was wet from the rain, I was hungry from not eating, and I was tired that this was every day of my life. I mean, not this exact situation, but something like this. And as I walked down the hallway, these two guys walked towards me, and one of them called me a fag, and I turned around to say something, but they just kept laughing. They just high-fived and laughed. They didn't even care to look back, and for them it was just one moment. 30 seconds they were just about to forget, and for me it was a moment I would never forget, no matter how hard I tried. And that's bullying, right? It's one tiny little paper cut. And in my school of 1,000, if everyone paper cut me just once the entire year, 3 or 4 different people would paper cut me every single day of the year. And it did. And it hurts. And the problem with a paper cut is it just cuts you so tinily, but it cuts so deep, and it chops your tiny little soul into tiny little pieces, and they fall to the floor. And you pick them up and you go into science class and you just sit there, and your teacher puts you into groups, and I got put with Mike and this random girl, and Mike starts making fun of me, and everyone hears it and nobody says anything, and I don't say anything because I've heard it all before, and I've tried everything. I've tried telling teachers, I've tried walking away, I've tried fighting back, and nothing ever works. So you just close your eyes and you give up, and you wish you were dead. And then all of a sudden this girl across from me said, stop. And I thought she was talking to the train of thought inside my head, but when I opened my eyes, she was talking to Mike. And it was the first time in my entire life that anyone had stood up for me, and it worked. We blew up our science volcano, we left class early, he stopped making fun of me, and after a class I went up to her and I'm like, who are you? And she's like, I'm Jessica. And I'm like, why'd you stand up for me? And she's like, well, you seem like a nice guy, which is weird, because every single day I look at myself in the mirror and all I can see is the words that other people write on top of me. Every single day they call me a loser, and every single day you just start believing it. But she said one nice thing, and I felt awesome on the inside. We became friends, and when my school did not let me go to prom with my boyfriend, Jessica, she cut her hair short, got a pink convertible, dressed up like a dude and picked me up. And it was awesome. We went to prom together, and after prom was over, we all went back to Emily's house, and we were eating ice cream and watching TV. And Jessica was like, why don't you sue your school? And I was like, why? And she's like, teachers make fun of you, and students make fun of you, and no one's ever gotten in trouble for picking on you. So I did. I sued my school and my school board, and I won Canada's second largest human rights lawsuit. And I used the money to start the Canadian Centre for Gender and Sexual Diversity. Not that glamorous. Yeah, so every single day of the year we go into schools and workplaces and communities and organizations, and we advocate for the lives of people like me, like you. Because the truth is, and you already know this, that there's no one bully in your school. All of us are victims. All of us see bad stuff happen. And all of us do bad things that hurt other people. So we have a responsibility to do something about it. So, we also started the International Day of Pink, which is on April 12th. And as you leave, please grab a free poster on the registration desk. And don't forget to wear pink on April 12th and do something fabulous. But also, please remember to be kind to one another and helpful and supportive of one another, because you never know how much of an impact that'll have on people. So thank you so much, and have a good rest of your day.
What a great presentation by Jeremy. He's a very powerful speaker. That wraps up this episode of Policing York Region. It's been great having you here. Look forward to seeing you again.